Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we pot up some Snapdragon seedlings. So let's go. I have tried not once, not twice, but 3 times to take this cat off my table to film this. She won't leave, so she will be part of our video today. Her name is Winnie. I have 3 cats. This is my daughter Angelica's cat. She's very sweet, and every time I sit at this table, she jumps up here and wants pets. I live in New Hampshire. I garden in USDA Zone 5B. My average last frost date, based on my zip code, is May 15th. Today is March 5th, and I am only 10 weeks away from my average last frost date. I have grown Snapdragons from seed for a number of years. It's actually a pretty easy plant to grow from seed. Typically, I grow the plant from seeds that I've collected because they're so easy to collect the seeds from. And in fact, I made a video showing you my process for sowing the Snapdragon seeds. It's been 10 days now, and they have really germinated quite well. What I'll do is add a link to that video in the description below in case you're interested. Once I had pretty good germination on my Snapdragon seeds, I removed my tray off of the heat mat. I also removed the humidity dome. That is really important. The whole purpose of the heat mat is to aid in germination for the seeds. But once your seeds have germinated, you don't want to keep your plants on the heat mat. It actually can make them leggy. Also, when it comes to the humidity dome, once you have very good germination, you want to remove that as well. If you don't do that, and I learned the hard way with my petunia seedlings, what will happen is the environment in there is too humid for those seedlings, and it's going to cause a lot of fungal issues, one of which is damping off. So after I removed the humidity dome and my tray off of the seedling heat mat, I continued to keep my tray of seedlings under my LED shop lights. And I keep those lights on 16 hours a day from 5 a.m. until 9 p.m. They're set up on a timer, and I have a video that goes over that whole entire setup that I have for my grow lights, and I'll put a link to that video down below as well. I like to keep my lights very close to all of my seedlings, about 2 or 3 inches above the seedlings. That also makes sure that my seedlings don't get too leggy. So this is what the seedlings look like now. You can see that we sowed a ton of seeds 10 days ago. And if you recall, those were seeds that I collected. And oh boy, I'm going to be busy pricking these seedlings out. I like multi-sowing my seeds in small modular trays like the restaurant takeout containers because it takes up a lot less room under my grow lights. Also, only the viable seeds will germinate, and that's good because not all seeds are going to germinate no matter what you do. And what I like about that is that when I do prick out the seedlings and I put them in my 6 cell packs, that pretty much ensures that I'm going to have full 6 cell packs. In other words, I'm not going to just have a whole tray of 50% germinated seeds and 50% of seedlings that never germinated. That's such a waste of space under the grow lights, I feel. Now the seedlings could stay in this container for a little bit longer. At this point, because there are so many seedlings in here, the soil is drying out pretty quickly. So I would much rather just start pricking out the seedlings and getting them put into 6 cell packs where they're going to have a little bit more soil. And that way they're not going to dry out as quickly. We originally planted these in seed starting mix because the seeds were really, really small. But at this point, when I prick out the seedlings, they're going to get put into potting mix, which will be much better for the seedlings now. You can use whatever potting mix you like. I like to make my own potting mix. And I use what are called parts, and it can be basically any container that you want. I just use a bowl, and as long as you use that same container, that is basically 1 part. So for my parts, I use 4 parts of peat moss, but you can use cocoa coir, and I buy my peat moss from a local garden center in bulk. And then I use 1 part of fine vermiculite, and I like to buy a nice big bag of that off of Amazon. The vermiculite helps with retaining moisture. And then I use 1 part of perlite. I also buy a big bag of that off of Amazon, and perlite helps with good drainage. And then what I do is sprinkle the top with garden lime. It's not the pelletized lime, it's the powder lime. And what that does is that offsets the pH of my peat moss. Peat moss is very acidic, so it helps with that. So if you are going to make your own seed starting or potting mix, and you end up using cocoa coir instead of peat moss, you don't need to add lime. I prefer to pre-moisten my potting mix before I put it into my 6 cell pack. And the way that I do that is I take boiling water and I pour it on top of my potting mix. I make sure I mix it nice and well, and then I cover it just to keep the steam in there. The reason that I like to put boiling water on there is it does kill off the chance of any fungus gnat eggs that might be in there. Now fungus gnats love wet soil, But what I've found is my peat moss is out in my garage, and there could be anything in there, including creepy crawlies or fungus gnats that have laid their eggs. I just want to make sure that I'm sterilizing my peat moss and killing off anything that might be in there. And then once the potting mix has cooled down, it's safe to go ahead and use. I like to reuse my 6 cell packs as well as my 10 by 20 trays. When I initially started growing seedlings indoors, I purchased them. I bought them on Amazon, or I bought them from a store close to me called Ocean State Job Lot, where they're pretty cheap, I feel. But over the last many years, what I've been doing is actually saving them, and not only that, but collecting them. A lot of times, friends and family members don't use them, and they end up giving them to me. And also, there's a local garden center that has a recycling bin. I have found so many pots and trays in that recycling bin, so I just keep collecting them and saving them through the years. Another place where you can find cheap or free pots as well as trays is on Facebook Marketplace, so definitely check that out as well. The 10 by 20 tray that I use is solid bottom, and the reason they call it a 10 by 20 tray is because of the dimensions of the tray. I like using that type of tray because it's very easy to bottom water my seedlings with. So I'm going to take you in for a closer look so you can see my process for transplanting my Snapdragon seedlings. When you squeeze your potting mix, notice that there's no water dripping. And then when you let go, I want you to see that it's actually holding its form. And that's good. That's the right consistency, the right amount of water that's been added to the potting mix here. You can see that the cell pack has drainage holes in the bottom, and that's a good thing. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to fill up our 6 cell pack. When it comes to filling up your containers, you want to make sure that you're pushing the soil down enough, because you want to eliminate any sort of air pockets that might be in there. You also don't want to press down too hard, because if you press down too hard, what's going to happen is as the plant's roots are growing, they're going to struggle. They're going to have a hard time. So I'm just pressing down. When you're bottom watering, if you're noticing that most of the cells are turning from a light brown to a dark brown, in other words, they're getting water, but you're finding one of your cells just never seems to get water, usually the reason is there's an air pocket in there, or for whatever reason that cell has just dried up and it's not wicking water. So what I like to do a lot of times is I might press down, like let's say there's a seedling there, I might still press down around that seedling just to try to push that air pocket out so that it can start wicking up water in that cell again. I like to use something like a pen just to make a hole inside of here, so when I put my seedling in, I can just put it right inside the hole pretty easily. And I'm not going to go too deep because the seedlings are still quite small. You can see that the Snapdragons still only have their cotyledon leaves. They are just the first leaves that appeared. And if you'll remember, we sowed some light pink Snapdragons, and then we had some red Snapdragons in the middle, and then on the end we sowed some yellow Snapdragons. Isn't that fun to see just the different in colors for the seedlings? Again, I'm going to use my pen, and I'm going to use the front of it to help me prick out some of my seedlings. When it comes to handling your seedlings, you always want to handle them by a leaf. You don't want to handle them down here by their stem. The reason is you could crush or break the stem, and if you do that, then that plant is no longer good. However, if you handle a seedling by its leaf, and let's just say this leaf falls off, there's a high likelihood that the seedling will still be fine. It happens to me all the time, and so that's why I wanted to share this with you. It's a delicate process. I'm getting right under there to remove our little seedling. And there's a great example. I broke off the cotyledon leaf, but one leaf is still there. This plant will be fine. It's going to now grow its true leaves and continue living its best life. And now what I'm going to do is place the seedling in the hole, and then I'm just going to backfill around it. I like to make sure I bury as much of the stem as I can, just because I want the seedling to be nice and sturdy. So if for whatever reason you had a leggy Snapdragon seedling and you were potting it up, go ahead and you can plant it a little bit deeper and it will be fine. And that's what that seedling looks like. Now we're going to go after this one. And it actually has a nice little root system going on for how little the plant is. And you can see there's quite a bit of stem there. We can go ahead and plant this a little bit deeper. So I'm handling it by its leaf, and I'm just going to go ahead and place it. Push the roots in a little bit, and then we can backfill. Hello, little seedling. Sometimes when you buy Snapdragon seeds, I think they might be pelleted because the seeds are so small. And in that case, it might be easier to sow your seeds in something like a 6-cell pack if you don't want to go through this whole process. But because the seeds are so tiny, I prefer to sow them this way and then bump them up. But I do get it that this process is not that fun for some people, and they would much rather just plant all their seedlings in something like a 6-cell pack. I totally get that. I had the question from someone. They asked me if, let's say you planted a few seeds in here, the whole idea of letting the strongest seedling survive and cutting back some other seedlings, that's definitely an option. You can do that. I was having the conversation with my husband the other day about, I don't know why, but I feel so bad when I kill seedlings. I know I'm not the only one. And I think like with the damping off issue that happened recently with my petunias, I felt sad, but I got over it. But if I'm actually pricking out a seedling and I end up just by mistake cutting off the 2 top leaves on the top, I feel really bad. I know I can't be the only one. But I mean, let's be honest. I got way more than I need here, so I shouldn't feel bad, but I still do. Just pushing the potting mix again at the base and just pushing down. And the last one for this 6-cell pack. One thing I want to share is that when you multi-sow seeds like this and you start bumping them up into a container like this, but let's say life happens and you've only bumped up a number of seedlings like this, you'll notice that the seedlings that are in a tray like this are just not growing as fast as if you had moved them up into a container like that. So you kind of want to do a process of bumping up your seedlings into a bigger container like this sooner than later, because that will then encourage these plants to grow faster, to get their true leaves on, and then you can start fertilizing them, and then they can really take off. And just remember, you always want to make sure that the roots are beneath soil level and then the green parts are above soil level. And it's okay with certain plants to bury them deeper if you have to do your research, because it's going to vary from plant to plant. I'll be busy potting up all of those seedlings, but I actually enjoy the process. I like doing it a little at a time. I like to have my coffee. I like to watch videos while I'm doing it. It's actually kind of fun for me. From now on, I will only be bottom watering my seedlings. I don't want to water them from up above because that can introduce all sorts of fungal issues. In the description, you'll also find a link to a video I made that talks about how I bottom water and how I fertilize my vegetable as well as flower seedlings. When it comes to fertilizing, I'm going to wait. Right now, the plants only have their cotyledons, which are their first leaves that appeared. The next set of leaves that will appear, those are called true leaves. Once the true leaves begin to appear, that's when I can start fertilizing. I like to use Miracle Grow. It's an all-purpose fertilizer. It comes in a granular form, and I like to mix it in with my water. I will only be using half the strength of what is on the packaging. The seedlings are still very small. I don't want to kill them. I will give a full strength much later on when the seedlings are bigger, but not right now. I have an oscillating fan that runs in my grow room. It's on 16 hours a day. It comes on when the lights come on, it goes off when the lights go off. The reason for the fan is to add movement. That helps dry off the soil a little bit, which is actually a good thing for the plants, and it also just gets the plants to be stronger. It almost mimics the wind that's blowing outside. So with that movement, you'll have a much sturdier, a much stronger plant. I'll be sure to bring you along once the seedlings have gotten a little bit bigger and when it's time to give them some fertilizer. And then I'll continue to bring you along when I pinch them back and then eventually bring them out in the landscape. Are you growing Snapdragons from seed this year? If so, how are your seedlings doing? I'd love to know. Please drop it in the comment below. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.